Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, and today on the program, I'll be speaking with some of the creators from this year's Brooklyn Film Festival. The festival kicked off the summer season on May 31st here in Brooklyn. I caught up with some of the filmmakers just before the fest. All right, joining me now, he is the director of Ovid New York, Mr. Vito Rowlands. Vito, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
First of all, congratulations on your world premiere, Brooklyn Film Festival. How does that feel?
Thank you. Yeah, it feels great to have the film be out there, have a hometown and home borough premiere. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
This film's a little bit unusual. Can you, because it's not like one singular narrative, right? So can you kind of lay it out for us and give us a little synopsis?
So it was inspired by Ovid's Metamorphoses, the sort of Roman poetic creational collection of myths. And it's seven connected stories, all featuring different characters, different genres, different tones. Some are more comedic and playful, others are a little bit more murdery, shall we say. And the idea was to make an anthology film that sort of captured not just crazy times when this was shot, which was mostly across the entire year of 2021, but also to capture the changing of the seasons. And so to tie these different stories into the changing landscapes that you also see in the Metamorphoses. And that was kind of crucial to getting, for essentially a no budget film, the type of production design that we wanted.
The name of the film is Ovid, New York, which I've lived in New York my whole life. Didn't know that was a place. Um, did you guys actually film up there, or is it just kind of named after the town?
No, so we filmed up there. The film actually ends there with two ferrymen, the twin brothers Max and Nikki Weinbach, who are also local Brooklyn stand-up comedians, um, and they're sort of guarding the underworld. So yeah, when doing research for this film, knowing it was going to be an anthology film, different chapters connected to each other, there's a bunch of anthology films with sort of the name of the place embedded. And when doing some research, I found out that when they were settling upstate New York, there was someone who had a penchant for classicist names who, next to Seneca Lake, founded a few little tiny villages named Romulus, Ovid, Seneca. And so we thought, well, we can't make the film without actually shooting there. And it was quite beautiful too. So
For something like, I mean, I can only kind of imagine the production on this because you got some scenes that look like they're in the middle of nowhere in the winter. Can you talk about that, like the production process a little bit?
so it was a lot of what do they say, begging, borrowing, stealing. But mostly a lot of me and my cinematographer, we were two of a basically a four-person crew that made this film. So it was us and an 80-pound 35 millimeter camera with 1,000-foot magazines with expired film stock, trying to find a deer ranch in upstate New York. That's the first chapter, that's in the snow and the mountains. Trying to connect to people to let us stay there for free, drive us around in, minus 10-degree temperatures, and making the most of the beauty of upstate New York. We didn't cross any boundary lines. We wanted to keep it right in New York State. So that snowy landscape you talk about is in West Salem, New York, right on the border with Vermont. We went to the Finger Lakes. We went to the Hudson Valley, to the Western Catskills. We shot in Greenpoint. We shot in Staten Island. We kind of, wherever we could go to capture something unique that would work well with the seasons. It was a lot of scouting across, let's say, a year and a half. So half a year before the film. And then as production went on and the seasons changed, it was a lot of visiting places and trying to get approval to shoot there. Yeah. Luckily we had a very small footprint, so that was easy.
Yeah, you guys seem like you're going fast and loose, but odd that you know that you're doing that with a 35 mil. That's a lot of camera to lug around and expensive too.
Normally, yes, but we were lucky to have a lot of support. I'm embedded with a great cinema arts nonprofit here in Brooklyn called Mano no Aware. Took my first film classes there. I'm an instructor there now. They had this long expired film sitting on the shelf. We did some tests on it. They basically got it, at less than cost. Panavision came on board once they saw our first chapter that we shot as a proof of concept. And then Color Lab was also just instrumental in making all things come together. So, even though we were a documentary skeleton crew, we wanted to go for these locked off shots. We wanted it to have a unique look, and we wanted to make it for, as close to $0 as we could. So it was a major challenge. But it ended up being faster that way, even though that's counterintuitive. We did have having a 6'3" cinematographer does help. I think he was the only one that could really comfortably carry the camera. I could sort of rest it on my knee because we were only shooting with 1,000-foot magazines because we didn't have the setup to cut it down to smaller mags. So it was really heavy, hence also the locked off shots for the most part.
It's an anthology film, so you have all these different stories. Is there an overarching theme or something that you really want audiences to walk away with?
I think the basic theme that connects all of them is transformation, whether that's in a very literal sense, people transforming into animals, into statues, coming to terms with who they are as a profession, which is true for our bounty hunter chapter. But we also have it in a more transitional, comedic, romantic tone. And I think that's kind of the one thing that carries over, because you see the landscapes and the seasons change across. And so in many ways, that's also kind of an ecological theme that sneaks into the film a little bit. A lot of the original poetry is about sort of violent change. And I think shooting not only in times of COVID, but of climate change, that's sort of something that, I think if you watch it attentively, is something that will maybe, spark some inspiration watching it.
So if people want to know more about the film, more about you, where can they find you guys online?
So they can go to my website, vitorowlands.com.
All right, man. Congrats on the premiere, and good luck with the film.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, joining me now via Zoom, he is the director of Hunan Soondan, Misha Voropaev. Welcome, Misha.
Hello.
This film is a documentary, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Tell me a little bit about it. Talk to me about the subject matter. Talk to me about the story. Give me a little synopsis.
We just wanted to make a film about this band, Hun. It's like one of the famous traditional roots music, like with throat singing. Like they're in some sense so famous that I didn't want actually to have a exposition in the movie, about them. I just decided to put straight into the terrain, the environment they are living. So yeah, and we just had a nice few weeks ride by the land, and they just stopped here and there and played some music. We were like speaking a bit about their background, about everything. Yeah, but like it's mostly about the music than about information and explanation.
You shot this in Tuva, right? Give me a geography lesson. Where is that? Put it in a context for me.
Yeah, like if you look at the Russian map, so you have somewhere in between the Baikal Lake, this big lake in the Siberia. So, and under this lake, near the borders of Mongolia, China, and like other Russian territories by north. So yeah, it's just somewhere in between. The Tuvan culture, it's like a really big combination of Mongolian and Uyghur people, actually. So this a part of China, they are connected. Like it's Uyghur China, actually. So they have roots like all over Mongolia and the China, Uyghur, and yeah. So it's a pretty close place because when in times when people had the Silk Road, like all paths, all trails of Silk Road, they were passing Tuva, actually. So all roads either were at the north, either south, and nobody almost like stopped there. So it's the reason why we know so less information about Tuva. And I think it's Richard Feynman who made it, who made kind of popularization of this place actually, and throat singing.
So is this kind of like a rockumentary where you're following the band on tour and they're interacting with fans and playing gigs and there's a lot of their music in it?
Yeah, it's kind of, but in the different way because there are not uh, normal popular musicians. They like very different kind of musicians. So we decided to find our own way to actually drive story and. And yeah, it's mostly about following them and see like how they experiencing the homeland, because apparently like initially we wanted to make a like bigger tour for the Russia or maybe even other countries by but during COVID it was impossible, so we decided to come to them, and they were not in hurry because like before COVID, the normal schedule it's about 260 concerts per year. So, so yeah, they like more playing they than living their lives, So yeah, that's crazy, and I thought that it's the most appropriate and easier way to communicate with them, to catch them actually at one place and try to do something interesting.
What do you feel like the impact is going to be on audiences? What do you want people to walk away with?
Yeah, it's interesting question actually. Um, Let me think. I don't know. I think that that kind of music that they providing, it's a thing that you actually don't need to understand the lyrics to understand the feeling of the music. So I think that if you like watch it and you watch it till the end, you might be pleased just because of the music. At least if you don't like the movie, you just pleased by the music because it's very, I don't know, it's very sensitive in a way. But movie, I just wanted to create kind of trippy feeling of a constant moving, just like kind of road movie thing, but not exactly. Yeah, so I really hope that people will enjoy just this combination of visual storytelling and the music, and yeah, like I think that's it.
And joining me now again via Zoom, it's Lenny Luo, the director of The Faerie Queen. Welcome, Lenny.
Thanks for having me.
Lenny, congratulations on being here at Brooklyn Film Festival. Tell us about the film.
I made it in my senior year of high school in Hong Kong. Um, During a very difficult time. It was we called it the third wave of COVID. This is when the rest of the world had already, pretty much gotten over that hump. But as you may have known, in China and in Hong Kong, they took sort of a different route towards containing the COVID virus. So they took things very seriously. And around the time we shot the film, which was spring 2022, there was another outbreak, and they did total lockdowns and everything, which coincided right with when this project was about to start. So it was a really difficult, hectic, stressful process. Obviously, I was a high school senior, first feature film. We raised the funds through Kickstarter, got together a crew, which was sort of like a ragtag mix of my friends who, you know, are a bunch of filmmakers that I grew up with, and professional crew that we found sort of in the Hong Kong scene. And yeah, we shot the film with much help from, you know, liaising with the government. We had to get a lot of permits and a lot of, we broke a few rules here and there, but um, yeah, since then it's been about 2 years. I've been navigating the post-production festivals process, which has been pretty intimidating, pretty frustrating, especially as you can imagine, someone like me, so young, no real experience. I got the film made, and I thought that was such, wow, we're in the clear now. But
Give us a little synopsis of the movie. Give us a little plot, little character.
the film is essentially a high school film, but not the typical type. The reason I made it is because I felt that high school movies generally are not great, or they're not very accurate or reflective. And I wanted to say something about the maybe the darker things that I've seen um, in the environment and the culture of my high school and at just my generation at large. So general synopsis would be every Friday night, the sort of high school in crowd gathers at this bare, dingy house on the outskirts of town. And that house belongs to a kid named Ezra, who's a social outcast who rents this place out to the kids at his school to throw these debaucherous parties, right? And he doesn't partake. Um, at the center of that sort of social scene is Charlie, the golden boy, the guy who can do no wrong. Everyone loves him. Um, one night, Ezra returns home to the aftermath of one of these parties, and he finds a young woman sort of passed out on his bed, and he starts to piece together this conspiracy that involves Charlie, and what ensues is basically a game of cat and mouse where stuff happens. It's really what it is a character study, and it's like an examination of my generation, sort of from close range, and trying to say some things about stuff like toxic masculinity, rape culture, like all these. It's not just a negative commentary, but that's essentially what it is.
Have you had the chance to see the movie with an audience yet?
No, so this our world premiere at Brooklyn Film Festival. That'll be the first.
And what's your anticipation of the reaction? What do you want people to kind of walk away with?
Well, I want them not to be bored. I want them to like the movie. I want people around my age to watch it and to find some type of like relatability and catharsis and understanding that like this is a film spoken in a language that's actually like fluent, you know? Most of the time the stuff that gets made about people my age is not really, it's made more by adults who don't really get it, right? For wider audiences, older audiences, I hope they see the film and they understand that like if they have, kids in high school, middle school, they understand that like this is the way, you know, the universal threats and dark themes that have always been, since civilization has begun, this is the way they're manifesting now, the sort of spaces and languages that um, they're being transmitted through. And yeah, I hope they understand the message of the film and that they enjoy it.
For people who want to know more about you or maybe track the progress of the film, where can they find you online?
They can find me on Instagram at Lenny Luo, LENNYLUO. Website, same thing, lennyluo.com.
Right now, we've got Martjin van der Griendt all the way from across the sea. The film is called The Holy Trinity, and he's the director. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Tell us about the film. First of all, congratulations on getting into Brooklyn Film Festival. And this is your U.S. premiere, correct?
Yeah, correct. It was premiered here in Holland 2 months back, but I just finished the movie in January, so it's really, brand new.
So tell us about it.
Basically, I'm a photographer normally, but now I dare to say I'm a filmmaker. This is my second movie. My documentary photography, I'm specialized in taking pictures of teenagers, of young people, of youngsters. And for years, I want to make a movie about this theme, about young people. And I found these three friends from my hometown, or not from the town where I was born, Eindhoven, in the south of Holland. And I thought they were the perfect three to make a documentary about. And that's how it started. I started to take pictures of them for a year, and then actually it was kind of the preparation of the film. Apparently, it seemed to be later that it was the preparation for the film. Yeah, now there is a documentary.
And so, and you're kind of like following them. Is there a particular time in their life that you're following, or is it like, is there a particular thing that they're trying to accomplish?
I would say it's a sort of slice of life about teenagers, and especially the subject is about their vulnerability and their insecurities. That was the theme already before I met them. I wanted to do something about teenagers and how they cope. It's about the vulnerability of teenagers, and especially about teenagers nowadays, with a lot of social media, a lot of addicted to their phones. And I'm pretty close to them. I followed them for a year with pictures, so I know them really good, and they really let me into their lives. And it's I filmed them during the last summer of their graduation year. And it's about their friendship. And I went with them on a short holiday, and in that holiday, I that's where the story, what the story is about. No, it's not the story. That's the setting. The holiday is the setting of the film.
I have trouble relating to teenagers now. Like, it's a very different world than from when, I was a kid. Was that kind of a challenge? Like, how did this kind of work logistically?
Well, logistically, that wasn't the problem. It's more, you have to know, I take pictures of teenagers for more than 30 years when I was a young 20er. So in my young 20s myself. And I don't know how I do it, but I can say now after all these years that I'm really good in, what's the word? I can level with them. That's level up with them. That's I think that's the best way to tell. And in the first place, of course, you have to gain trust. Of course, I always have conversations not only with them but also with their parents. That's for sure. I tell them about my project. I've made a lot of photo books about young people, and I don't know how I do it, but I'm a sort of chameleon. I just level up with them, and I'm not like a fly on the wall. I'm also not doing like that. I'm partying with them, but that's totally different. But I can really relate with them. I know their problems. I recognize their insecurities. I can talk with them about it. They even tell me things that their parents don't know. So I don't know. I'm used to do this for years.
What was it about these young people that you felt like what is it about you? What is it about them that fascinates you? Like, is it is it the drama?
It is definitely the drama. It's when they're growing up, teenagers in general, they all cope with the same problems. Insecurities about how they look, about how they feel, about love, about all kinds of, about dealing with their parents. I think that's something that I can relate to my own youth, and that's something I'm really interested in. I wouldn't make a film about people of my own age, because, as you said, it's a bit boring. Maybe it's a bit you can laugh about it, but this is really serious stuff, teenager stuff. It's their problems are huge for them. They feel that it's like the world is exploding, or they have to die, or they have to, it's really dramatic. And yeah, I like that kind of stories. Also in fiction films, I like that kind of things. Like for example, what is it? I end with with a quote of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That kind of movies, where the problems of teenagers are also, the same kind of problems.
What do you feel like you want audiences to gain from this? Is this for people our age? Is this an insight into younger people? For younger people, does this give them perspective? How do you see audiences seeing this?
I've shown this movie now a few times at a festival here in the Netherlands, and also in the cinema in Amsterdam. And it's both. I think it's both for young people and for adults. It's for people that have teenagers as children, but the reactions are also that a lot of people, also grown-ups, recognize their own problems from when they were young. So what I want to give to people is that all those problems are general, and also a little insight of the youth of today, because these problems with mobile phones and their addictions to it, that's really new. I mean, that wasn't in our generation when we were younger. So, but it gives more a sort of insight, a sort of slice of life about how they're coping with it, and without spoiling anything. I think it's also a bit dramatic, because some things happen in the movie, and most people end up with tears seeing this movie, but like in a positive way. I always try to end my movies like, although it's heavy, but I hope people leave the cinema with a good feeling.
For people who want to know more about you and your work, where can they find you online?
Best way is my website, I think, and also I have the trailer of my movie, but it's also on my website. The whole photo series about these three friends is on my website, Martjin van de Griendt, and then .nl for the Netherlands.
That's all we got for you today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content and more film festival coverage, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank everyone who came out to chat with us. And for Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.